Alright guys, we are going to put a hydraulic thumb, on our Cat 305 excavator. I've been looking for one for a long time. A lot of the used good hydraulic thumbs are 25. I know Bedrock makes a pretty good one. They are like 2,500 bucks plus freight. Of course that comes with cylinders, but does not come with hoses, I don't believe. But anyway, we found a Cat brand thumb on Marketplace for 400 bucks. I sent my brother up to get it for 150 bucks. So I've got 550 into the thumb itself. Did not come with a cylinder, did not come with a pin, did not come with hoses. But we've pieced a bunch of the parts together we need. We'll talk about how we saved money on the Cat cylinder, and then we'll to get this mounted up on the machine. So stay tuned. Okay, so here is our, well, that's our Chevy Cruze engine because the white car needs a motor. But here is our hydraulic thumb. It's made for it's a Cat brand, and it's made for a 305. Did not come for this with this pin. It did come with a pin for the cylinder, but it did not come with the actual pin for the bucket. So we ended up buying the pin, which is this here. We ended up, well, not this one, but it's the one that goes here. We ended up buying the pin. Now this pin was pretty expensive actually. We got a deal on it, but we paid about $200 for this and those shims. But I didn't want to, that's not something I wanted to try to fabricate. So that pin's going to replace this, right? And then that'll hold the thumb on, okay? And then Caterpillar wanted almost $2,000 for their cylinder. So this is a surplus cylinder that we got online. We paid $265 for this cylinder. It's 3,500 PSI rated. It's a 4-inch bore, and it has a 28-inch retracted length with an 18-inch stroke, which is the same spec as the cylinder that the Caterpillar called for. So the only difference is that this was 1.25 inches diameter, which is fine because we had those brackets made for the machine shop, 1.25 inches, okay? But that end, it came to us 2.25 wide, right? 2.25 wide this way, and 1.25 inch pin, okay? I had the machine shop shave this down to 2 inches, okay? So that it fits here, right? And this takes 1 3/8 inch pin, and that would be more critical to change because it's already bushed for that. So we bored this out, had this bored out to 1 3/8 inch to go right in there. And that boring that out and making those beautiful brackets for me cost me $207. And then the only other thing we need are our hydraulic hoses. But the first things first, we are going to get the bucket off this machine. We're going, which we do by using this nut. We're going to get the bucket off the machine. We're going to work on getting these out, which I'm sure will be fun. And then we're going to get the bigger pin put in and our thumb put in, and we're just going to let it set in the close position. And then we'll start figuring out how we want to, where we need to place it on here. We're just going to weld to the side of this. I hope that's going to be okay. With the thickness here in that cylinder, I didn't want to get in a situation where we had to make it like this big, unless I could have done a clevis pin or something, you know. But so we're just going to come out the sides of this with that and go all the way across. And then so we're going to get that done. The goal for today would be to get this pin out, get that thumb put on here, and that's it. Tomorrow we'll probably work on getting this placed, mounted, and tacked. And then once that's mounted and tacked, we're gonna go get some hoses made for those two fittings there. We're gonna have to fix this bracket too. So that's the game plan. Okay, I know a socket is probably more efficient on this, but I keep this on the machine. You know, this is a welded nut because I already twisted it off once. So this is, you actually righty-tighty to loosen it because it's a shaft that's screwing in and out, and the screwing it out, which is loosening it, is what tightens the bucket. So, and I never knew that this was It's not technically threaded, left threaded. It's just the way the mechanism works. It's backwards. So, but a socket's definitely faster, but we'll probably speed this up. Sorry for my bad excavating skills. I wasn't sitting in the seat. Whenever controls are always weird when you're running them from standing on the side of the machine. I'm going to lift that back up actually. See? I told you, you get turned around when you're not sitting on the machine. Alright. Let's just see what we can get this out of. Got that started. I think those are zinc bolts. I need to make sure I put grade 8 back in. I can see it's already soft. Okay, so we finally got this out. I will probably never use zinc bolts again. We're going to get that closer to the ground so it's not in our way. Right like that. And we're going to get this. It still needs a little bit of tension on that. See what we can do to get this pin on. Cat came with a bunch of shims. They're kind of better than mine. So I think I'm going to try to get these on the inside here. It's going to be a real pain to line everything up. Must be impossible to line up. Just gonna have to just push this. Try to line it up that way. That's gonna be so difficult. I think we need 4 shims on the outside. I think we need 2 there. Okay. Okay, well, I just found out my quick coupler is for the wrong machine. So sometimes this is what happens when you try to make something fit. So we've learned something today. The 305 excavator was sold in 2 configurations. It was sold with a 45mm pin, and it was sold with a 40mm pin. I knew these were a 45mm thumb, but I thought that was correct because my buckets are all 45mm pins. But if you think about it, my bucket doesn't go through the boom. My bucket goes through the quick coupler, and it's just a double U that spreads to tighten. So anyway, come to find out, this beautiful, beautiful pin I have from Caterpillar fits like a glove, right? But don't fit there. So that is unfortunately the situation, and we are going to, this is too much to change in the having to bore out the coupler, so we're not going to do that. We're going to take this thumb to the machine shop. We're going to ask them to bore this out and put in a new bushing that will take a 40mm pin. Caterpillar is in the process of finding me this pin in 40mm, and of course they'll take that back, so no big deal. But a little bit of a delay, might be a few days before we get this thing back, but that's okay, not a big deal. I should have looked better, but sometimes these things happen when you're outfitting, you know, used parts, and I didn't even think about that. I just thought the bucket was 45. So, but anyway, we're gonna hang tight, wait for this to get back from the machine shop. Probably a couple days would be my guess. And in the meantime, Caterpillar will be able to identify that pin and give me that pin here. So that's where we're at for today. So we got a new bushing put in this, and we now have a 20mm bushing. Cat was not able to find the, I'm sorry, we have 40mm pin. Cat was not able to find this 40mm pin. This ended up just being 40mm stock that I got from the machine shop. We'll have to cut it down to size. We'll have to drill it, but we're going to do a test fit real quick. And we've got some shims that we're going to have to put in. Okay. We're kind of just going to try to get a visualize of this. Might not be a bad idea to make a metal plate of some sort at some point in time. Metal adapter, I mean, to hold this. I'm gonna shoot for 4. this. I think I want... How many of these do we have? Okay. Now, we kind of lift up our adapter. Oh, no, we don't. We have to... Let's see. What do we got to do? I think we got to lift our machine up. Ready. It's always a hard time to see. Betcha. Okay. All right. So I think we need to curl down. There we go. There we go. I've stopped using these. I've found I've oblonged quite a few of these. These should line up. They shouldn't take a lot of force. That's why I've been using the rubber mallet. It's just a nicer surface. Okay. I think we're probably 2 on here too. Yeah, 2 is pretty good there. So we've got our pin. We did cut off this end more with the chop saw, and then we took this to my dad's and we drilled that on the drill press with a Cobalt 7/16 bit. So we got that done. We just got back home, and I clean this up, and I'm just gonna start working this back in here. And I'm gonna kind of try to keep it lined up while I'm going through. I put the old pin back in just to keep our stuff in place. So we should be driving this pin out. And that should be acting as a drive for us. We are right flush here. I might take, we're fine, but that should probably have been just a millimeter shorter. In fact, this probably should have been 2 millimeters longer, but I must have cut that pin just a little bit too, well, we have room to go back actually. That's probably okay. Okay, let's see what bolts fit. Okay, so we found a problem. Now, we're going to check it with the other bucket first before we panic. This is an 11-inch bucket. It's not a 12, it's actually an 11-inch bucket. And I think it's probably, you know, see all the weird design? I think someone made it. But this bucket wasn't really going to be used with this anyway, because as you can see from looking at the back of this, the ears of the thumb is like 14 inches or so. So we were planning on not using this bucket ever and getting like a 14 or a 15 or a 16-inch bucket, whatever we can find, not an 18, something smaller than an 18, so that we have the smallest bucket possible, covering the width of this, which is, let's get us an idea of what the width is. We're 14. Where's a good way to measure? Yeah, we're 14 basically. I gotta count for some room on the sides for this here. So we're basically 14 inches, 14 and a half inches across this. See, we're 13 and a quarter, but we have to account for a quarter here and a quarter there. So we're basically 14 would give us a good measurement. So we need a minimum 14-inch bucket, preferably, you know, a minimum 14. I'm going to find the smallest bucket we can find. But this will not close all the way. But we're going to check to make sure that this bucket doesn't have some funky angle. We're going to check the other bucket just to see. Well, right now we're caught on this coupler, and I don't even think if I trimmed this coupler a half of an inch, I don't think that it would do anything, because ultimately we're going to fall onto this at that point. So if the other bucket doesn't work right, then what we're going to have to do is come in here real close, probably with our grinder, or as flat as we can, and cut these. And we'll probably have to move this whole apparatus up to a different location on this plate. I did not foresee that as being a problem. But we're going to check the other bucket before we start putting together a plan of attack. So we had to take this over to a friend of mine's to get this plasma cut off. The rod right there. And so that way we've got our clearance here. So we're going to work on some test fitting, and before we put a whole lot of pressure on it, we're going to rebuild this here and this here so that it has some structure. But that allowed us to get the closing that we needed with that out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and get the hydraulic cylinder in there and try to do some test fitting with some clamps, figure out where we're going to put this. Okay, so I got this hydraulic rod in this pin here, and I want to work on trying to do some placement. I think I'm going to raise the boom and go straight up and down so that I don't have to use the bucket too much. Ideally, I would like to be able to pinch in that orientation. Which I can't do. All right, so I've been struggling with the welds on this a little bit. So we used to have a Lincoln MIG 180 welder that I never used as a MIG. I always used it as an inner shield flux wire. And we've done a lot of welding with it. We did our excavator rake and stuff with it. And I used it for thicker metal than it was really made for. So I got into the habit of running it really, really slow. So much so that I have ran that more than I've ran any MIG, just because that's what I had. And so I've got thousands of feet of this running slow mentality, building up heat on a welder that, is pushing the boundaries of the thickness of the metal anyway. So I've kind of taught myself to run real slow, and I've got this new welder now, and it's a great welder, and it's a Power MIG 260, and I'll show it to you here in a second. So it really is a great welder, but it's the operator. I'm not used to the power that it has. I'm not like burning through or anything. It's just I'm moving so slow, and then I'm moving too fast, and I just can't find a happy middle yet. And granted, this is the first few feet that I've put into this, but it's going to take some getting used to. And again, it's nothing with the welder; it's totally the operator. I'm not used to running MIG. I'm used to running inner shield, and that may be the way it pulls may be just something I got to get used to and kind of let myself learn it. But let me show you what we've got. Okay, so I know that, so I had my my friend come over and weld this, okay? He did it with all the same settings, so I know it's me. It's totally me. This looks fine. There's good penetration. I did this up here, and I can tell, one, my gun's not pointed right, but this gun's bigger than my gun on my 180 was. So that's, something I got to get used to. But obviously it's pointed here, not to the corner. Okay, that's a problem here, right? And then probably too fast, too slow. This section's okay here, I think. And again, he did this here. Let me show you the other side. Now, I did this here on this side, which isn't so bad. Vertical is always hard. There's some undercut to it. And then there's some spots where, like, if it all was this, I probably would be okay. Still, it's angle. It's angle that where I'm pointing. I went over this twice. May also be that this material's thick, and I think my loops need to be wider and let the pool build up wider. So I'm going to try to just grind this down a little bit. Just this here, and see if I can go over this again. Because I'm not super happy with that. We got our hoses made, and we've moved these though just to keep them out of our way. We got our hoses made and everything, and we've done some test fitting, and it's really turning out good. I just don't know if I can leave it like that. And like I said, this is all operator. But I'm gonna just see if I can get a little better, and then we still haven't done anything with this. We got this cut, but we haven't done anything with it. We got to put a piece of pipe here, a piece of pipe over there. So we're going to work on that a little bit as well. This is about as good as I'm going to get it. It's just going to take me some time to learn the new welder. A couple linear feet of weld is not going to be enough time for me to adjust the weld and get it all perfect. But I know with some time, I will get good enough with this welder as I was with my MiG 180. That I only ever ran as inner shield. There's definitely a difference between inner shield and shielding gas, I can tell. So it'll just take me some time, and I know that's not going anywhere. So we will go ahead and try to get some paint on it. And then we will start grinding on our stuff down here. So I think that's probably as good as I'm going to be able to get it without having someone come over and give me a hand with it. so I hope you enjoyed the video. This concludes our video on the Cat 305 excavator thumb. We had our 303 before, didn't have a thumb. We always wanted a thumb. The 305 didn't come with a thumb, but we wanted a thumb. So when I saw this pop up on Marketplace up in Pennsylvania, I sent my brother up there to get the thumb. It was like $500 for the thumb. You know, I thought it would be a little bit more bolt-on. I knew I'd have to make the brackets. I knew I'd have to find a cylinder. But I thought it'd be a little bit more bolt-on. It ended up needing to be a little bit more of a fabrication project. This must have been for a newer 305. But we got it done. And so I hope you enjoyed the video. One thing that we were going to do in the future with this is we're going to adjust the relief valve on our auxiliary. It's equalized with pressure of the curl. I would like the curl to be to overpower the thumb, just to protect this rod back here. The thumb does not overpower the curl, but it matches it. So I just want to reduce the pressure a little bit on this, which we'll look into in the coming weeks when we have some time, some downtime. But for now, this is great. I'm the only one running the machine, so I'll know just not to hammer down on the thumb too much. But I think this will be a tremendous asset. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll continue bringing more videos of things we do in the homestead. Thanks.